Cheers. Oh, that's strong. Right, good evening. I don't usually get in front of the camera. I'm always behind the camera. I'm doing silly alternative commentaries and all that kind of stuff. But I just thought, after what I've just seen tonight, I just thought I'd come out in front of the camera and just talk about, just for a few minutes, about what I saw tonight at Hillsborough. Because really, without pulling any punches, that was one of the most disinterested Sunderland performances I think a lot of us have really seen, and that even takes into consideration the 5-1 drubbing we had at Rotherham. The question is now really, where do we go from here? How do we address this problem? How do we stop the rot, which is what we're seeing at the club right now? So, I mean, I'll be keen to know in your comments on what you thought about tonight's game and what your thoughts would be if you were Lee Johnson or if you were the Sunderland manager. What would you do to address what's going wrong at the club right now? Because we're not going to get out of this division if we're conceding 8 goals in 2 games and just putting in the sort of disinterested performance that we saw tonight. And really, that's what it was. You can't fault the fans. We had 3,000 fans down there plus who were singing their hearts out the whole time, even when we were 3-0 down, and just having a bit of banter with the Sheffield Wednesday fans. So you can't fault the fans at all. But the lack of determination and drive and commitment by lots of players on the pitch today was just glaringly obvious. I mean, you'd like to say that without picking on a few people, well, really, I don't really want to pick on any of them because none of them were really had any sort of interest in getting a result tonight. Starting from the back, Hoffman, why he can't kick a ball out of his own goal is beyond me. Why does he insist on just putting it to the side, left and right, or relying on Flanagan to do that? Has he got a broken foot or something? Who knows? You know, maybe that answer will come out the next few days. Is it time for him to step aside and let Burge come back into it? That's one thing we'll be asking ourselves, we'll be asking the club. People like Luke O'Nien. Luke O'Nien is, hand on heart, Luke O'Nien is my favourite Sunderland player, and he has been for the last few years because of the passion, the commitment he shows all the time. But the last few games, in a Sunderland shirt, he has been way below the standard that we would expect of Luke. And he'll be kicking himself. But, we need to get to the bottom of what is going on with Luke O'Nien, what is going on with Lyndon Gooch since he's come back from injury. He hasn't been the same player. You could argue that the only goals we're going to get in the next few games are going to come from Ross Stewart. He seemed to be the only one that had any sort of drive and determination out there today, and you could see his frustration when he missed that one from close range and went over the bar. It is worrying when it comes to Lee Johnson's sort of tenure at the club, but also tenure at other clubs as well. I mean, that's one thing I want to talk about quickly, is it's the runs that he goes on. Now, I remember someone messaging my page when he arrived at the club saying, be careful with Lee because he goes on these big runs where he strings a lot of wins together and all things seem rosy, but then as soon as things are going well, they'll turn bad and he'll go on a run of 5 or 6 games and not pick up a point. And we've seen that. We're now seeing that twice. We saw it at the end of last season when the wheels came off, when we looked like we were going to go automatic, and now we're seeing it again. The answers, the question is for you guys. Do we need a change of management again, or do we hold on? Do we see if we can turn it around once more and get back into an automatic promotion spot, or just try and go for playoffs? Really, I'm asking you guys. Please put in the comments what do you think? Where do we go from here? Because something needs to be addressed, and so I'm be keen to hear your thoughts. Okay, so and obviously I like to know your thoughts on, do you want to see me in this ugly mug in front of the camera anymore? Because I'm usually just doing alternate commentaries and whatnot, which I've throttled back on recently because of copyright issues and other things like that, because it just upsets people. But I'd be keen to know what your thoughts on me being in front of the camera. I mean, I'm not your Sean Middleton. I'm not as good looking as that man. I'm not a handsome young lad like Jam Sarni, you know. And I haven't got the muscles of Gilesy. But I'd be keen to know what your thoughts are on really tonight's game, the Rotherham game, for those of you who have the disappointment of being there, and really what you've seen of the lads this season. All right, so feel free to drop me a few comments, and see you next time. Cheers.